How to make your VB WRX reliable. We're talking about mods that you can do to make this car reliable, and we're going to talk about quite literally everything that you can do to get the most reliability out of it. And then we're going to basically full stop, and I'm going to explain why the rest of the stuff is like kind of crackpot and you don't necessarily need to do it. So let's dive straight into it. We're going to actually start by you guys bearing with me, and I'm going to open the engine for no particular reason other than to show you guys the fact that we're talking about stuff inside my engine. YouTube things, right? Probably needs to be cleaned. I should probably look in here more often than I actually do, but this car is so damn reliable that I almost like never look at it. I've also been rebuilding an FA, so it looks slightly different than the FA20, but good looking engine. So if your WRX is stock, right? We're going to do stages. If your WRX, we're going to talk about stock WRXs, and then we're going to talk about modded WRXs. If your WRX is stock, there's a few things that you can do. You can put good oil into it. And I know I'm pointing at an engine and I know it's dumb, but I'm going to do it anyways. You put good oil into it. You do it every 3,000 miles or every 6 months. Maybe you take it to 4,000 miles. These cars love frequent oil changes. Just do it often. It has super blue coolant in it, which means it's probably good for 200,000 miles. Flush your coolant every 50 to 60,000 miles. It's just safer to do that. The same thing, flush your brake fluid every 50 to 60,000 miles. It's just good to do it. And lastly, change your battery before it goes bad. That might sound stupid, but there are so many relays and fuses in here that can be damaged or slightly damaged and shorten their useful life by batteries straining. And the batteries in these cars are actually tiny, not physically, but in their capacity typically. So I would say battery every well, it depends on where you're at, but I would say like battery every 40 to 50,000 miles. I know that sounds ridiculous, but just do it. It's like 120 bucks, just do it. And then basically the last thing you can do if you have a stock WRX, well, actually, no, there's two more things. The last thing you can do is keep it super clean, especially the engine bay. And I'm not saying spray it down, but just make sure the engine bay is fairly clean. Mine's a little dirty, but I would actually say it's pretty damn clean for multiple winters. I'm pretty proud of that fact. But that's just going to help you not have things in your engine prematurely fail. The one other thing you can do with your engine bay, and I'm going to sit here for a second because there's no point in pointing, is an air oil separator. So specifically an air oil separator. VB engines and just FA engines in general in the VB and VA WRX tend to have a little bit of oil coming into the intake. It kind of like the backflow is a little oily air, let's say. So you'll get a little bit of oil in the bottom of your intake and you'll be able to feel it after driving a lot. The way you can protect against that is an air oil separator. Essentially, it separates the oil out of the air in a baffle, collects it, and instead of catch cans, which catch them and you have to empty them, the air oil separator reintroduces the oil back into the engine, so you don't actually have to really do any maintenance on it. It's kind of set it and forget it. They're not all created equal, but a good air oil separator will theoretically do loads for these cars. Are they going to massively change your cost of ownership? Maybe if you drive the car for like 20 years, they're more of like preventative maintenance in that like it will help you if something catastrophically is going wrong, and it will help you if you have like the perfect setup of conditions, or it'll just help you over long mileage and ownership. So an air oil separator, probably worth the 600 bucks in the install. I would say probably do it. I haven't done it yet, but typically I don't own these cars for long enough to do it, and that might sound bad, but so few people run them that it's just normal ownership not to run them. They're really like, if I knew I was going to have a car for 20 years, I'd run it. That sounds like I'm not treating the car perfectly, but it's like an insurance policy, anything more than anything else. You can also understand how much oil is actually in the air by just pulling the bottom of your intake off and just doing a finger swipe. And some cars, they're not all equal. Like I've had two VA WRXs where it was like nothing ever. So I never ran an air oil separator on it. The WRX intake that I pulled off the 16 WRX that I've been rebuilding was like full of oil. Not full, but like enough that I'm like, oh crap, it needs an air oil separator. So let's talk modified for a second, because everyone basically does this. They put in an intake. I have an ETS intake right here on my car. And these intakes say it's fine to run without a tune. I've talked about this many times. Don't run an intake without a tune. And if you run an intake without a tune, it's doing nothing intentionally. Because if it does anything, it needs a tune. So there's no reason to modify an intake if you're not going to tune it. There's just fundamentally no reason. You maybe get a little bit of noise extra, but you actually get most of that noise when you tune it. But that's the thing. So huge reliability issues, actually, if you don't tune your intakes. They're generally safe, but those kind of fringe conditions can cause leading out, AFR issues, air fuel issues. You can just bring too much oxygen and air into the engine cycle, which is going to cause issues with like ignition, timing, all kinds of issues, fueling. Is it going to happen often? Probably not. You know, intakes are getting better at running no tune intakes, but just tune the damn thing. Like if you're putting an intake anyways, a dealer is going to be like, there's no, like, how should I say this? If you put an intake on, a dealer is going to treat that intake as if the car is tuned when they're talking about warranty cases. You're not like safe running the intake, right? And I will actually go as far as saying that I've seen on a lot of these cars, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and just the engineering supports it, that if you run an intake without a tune and it's safe to run, the fringe case where you might get one kind of like spurt in air or something, or it's out of bounds of like like you're safe without a tune section, might peak your boost higher than what the outer bounds are for these stock, which is already going to flag for a dealer anyways. Let's close this now. It doesn't make any sense to keep looking at it. I can't remember if I said this. Did I mention get a tune? So one of the other things that you can do with these cars is you can go to a reputable tuner and tune them. I will go as far as saying that tuning these cars can do a lot. It's not just about getting power, it's about correcting issues that can be hard to deal with. A great example is like rev hang. These cars don't have a ton of rev hang, but they're much easier, at least the tune that I have and what I've experienced with these tuned, they're kind of tuned out of the rev hang. You get a little bit more of kind of like a burble effect because they run a little rich to adjust for it. And I'll die on the hill and say that you get more miles out of your clutch if you get a tune because it's easier to drive in first and second gear and you have less chance of burning your clutch up a little bit. Beyond that, good gasoline is there, but essentially that's it. So I intentionally wanted to talk about just the few things you can do, and as you modify your car, you can do more things. But if you're just the average owner, which 98% of us are, and I include that in myself, so I just want to say this, like you might think that you do more with your car, and not to like knock you down a little bit, but you don't, and very few people do. And that's fine, that's not a bad thing, but that's essentially all you can do. Now let's just talk for a second because I don't want you to click away at this point. Let me save you some money. There's a lot of other things people can do for their cars that will save you money and be reliability mods and stuff like that. The viability of most of it is pretty low, you know, and there are a million things that I could talk about, everywhere from suspension modifications to certain things you can do with certain types of wheels to running a bigger intercooler and just running a bigger intercooler for the sake of running a bigger intercooler, even a different oil cooler. You know, these are all things that you can spend, or new piping or something to hold boost to them. Let me actually, before I even explain how much money you can lose here, these engines are tuned from Subaru pretty damn well. They're designed to run stock really damn well. Like that's just fact. And a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me, but the data does not lie. There's a reason they warranty them. That means insurance agencies are doing the math. The engines are tuned really, really, really well to run stock. You might not like certain characteristics of them, but they function almost perfectly. So as you start to change things, they don't function in the way that they're designed. And one that can hurt you a little bit, right? You don't exactly know what's gonna happen. And I don't care what a company tells you that they do for testing, it's not going to beat Subaru's testing. And very few companies actually do a ton of testing. They do some testing, but it's not as much testing as you'd actually think. Like it's like the kind of thing, like let's say you had 2 pills, you had 3 options. You didn't take a pill, you had pill A and pill B. You didn't take a pill as one option. Pill A has been taken by 1,000 people and the results were the best. Pill B has been taken by 50 million people and the results were pretty good. Which one are you taking? Probably pill B, or no pill, right? Pill A, it might be said to be the best, but only 1,000 people have taken it. So the same concept kind of goes with a lot of parts that are emerging on the market. One step further, a lot of people will talk about like get better cooling, better piping, hold boost more, all those things. Like intercoolers are a great example. Aftermarket oil coolers are a great example. Aftermarket radiators are a great example. You're just gonna be wasting your money. Unless you're looking to push something beyond that, just don't do it. And I will go as far as saying that like a lot of those things, like if you don't go for like the top racing spec and you're talking with your tuner prior, don't buy it because your tuner needs to be able to work with that to make a ton of power. So doing those types of things, it's just a waste of money. There's a million kind of things that fall into that bucket. If it wasn't one of the things that I talked about, it's probably not on the list of something that's going to increase reliability. It may in theory increase reliability the same way a special type of rubber on the bottom of your shoes might save you from getting hit by lightning. But how often are you planning every time you go outside of the house on getting hit by lightning? The odds of that are pretty low, but like, are you even thinking about that? The same thing kind of occurs with a lot of the like problems that you can cross off the list by following certain types of modifications. I'm gonna leave the video at that. If you disagree with me or you think that I forgot something, please drop it in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.